The Miami Dolphins have had a prolific offense for the past couple of years. They had the most offensive touchdowns last season, tied with the San Francisco 49ers. They were second in overall points, second in yards per play, second in yards per attempt on passing plays, and coached by offensive mastermind Mike McDaniel. On paper, they look great. Tyreek Hill may be the best wide receiver in football. Jalen Waddle is young and explosive and coming off 3 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. They added Odell Beckham Jr. in free agency. And of course, the efficient run game with Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, and now rookie Jalen Wright. In the center of all of it is Tua Tagovailoa, the former 5th overall pick quarterback out of Alabama entering his 5th season in the NFL. He's one of those weird cases where you could argue he's exceeded expectations, but has also underwhelmed at the same time. Over the past 2 seasons in particular, Tua has been one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the NFL. Amongst the NFL, he ranks top 5 in passing yards, top 5 in yards per game, top 5 in completion rate, and second in quarterback rating since the start of 2022. He's tough for a defense to stop. You have to account for their big play rushing attack. Tua gets the ball out as quickly as anybody. They're always running motion, and his deep passing numbers are elite. And when you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle running downfield, it definitely helps. So why do I think this team can't win a Super Bowl, you may ask? Well, if you're new here, you may have missed my video on the Dolphins last year when I discussed their ridiculous and somewhat unfair home field advantage, especially early in the season. And ironically, my argument against the Dolphins also deals with weather and conditions. The truth about Tua as a quarterback is he's tremendous when the conditions are right. A hot day, a dome stadium, not much wind, he's your guy. Probably a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. But after digging up his numbers in not so ideal weather, it's pretty discouraging. When the temperature is over 45 degrees, Tua's career record is 32-13, good for a 71 winning percentage. When the weather's over 70 degrees, Tua's record is ridiculous. A career 23-4 record in games over 70 degrees, which is an 85% win rate. Miami as a team has lost 11 straight games when the temperature at kickoff is 40 degrees or below. This includes last year's playoff loss at Kansas City. When the Chiefs hosted the Dolphins in last year's wildcard round, it was a frozen tundra. At kickoff, the temperature was -4 degrees and felt like -20 including wind chill. Going into that week, bettors and media personalities were sure to point out Tua and the Dolphins' struggles in less than ideal conditions. The numbers back it up, and most people chose KC to win because of it. Going into that playoff game, Tua acknowledged the conditions and explained how it depended on things felt during warm-ups, but he also didn't downplay it either. I think it's just the feel of how everything is, what the ball feels like, what throwing feels like, what holding the ball feels like, if there's wind, if there's not wind. You have to take all of those things into consideration. In the loss that ended Miami's 2023 season, which at one point looked very promising, Tua went 20 for 39 with 199 passing yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. He had a couple of good moments, including the 53-yard touchdown to Tyreek Hill on a deep post, but there was plenty of bad too. Specifically, his first quarter throw on a dig to Waddle that he sailed over his head was intercepted by Mike Edwards. He also got away with a YOLO ball at the end of the first half that Jaden Hicks definitely should have intercepted. In the early 4th quarter, there was a chance at a big play to Waddle, but the ball was thrown too far inside and resulted in a pass breakup. It looked like Waddle was running a corner route, but had to flip his hips inside because of the inaccuracy of the throw. In fairness though, there were some impressive throws too. A couple of deep corners to Tyreek and Cedric Wilson, a strike over the middle on a deep slant to River Craycraft. As a comparison, Pat Mahomes went for 262 yards, a touchdown, and no turnovers in the same game. Same conditions, and honestly probably had worse talent at the receiving position. It's no surprise that this was the outcome. Sure, Miami had been hit with unfortunate injuries, specifically on their defense, but we knew coming in that the offense would struggle, and they did. In Tua's 4 games he's played in below 40-degree temperature, his stats look like this. He's 90 for 165, a 54% completion percentage, yikes, 999 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 5 interceptions, a 70 passer rating, 1 fumble lost, and most importantly, an 0-4 record, although they came very close to winning one of those games versus Buffalo. The most concerning part of it all is that the Dolphins have to make a long-term commitment possibly to Tua in the near future. In 2024, Tua will be playing on his rookie deal 5th-year option, meaning he will be an unrestricted free agent after the season unless he's extended or franchise tagged. Unfortunately for Miami, quarterback franchise tags are not too team friendly these days. For reference, the franchise tag for quarterbacks in 2024 this offseason was $38 million. In 2025, the projected franchise tag for quarterbacks is over $42 million. So let's say the NFL's cap number gets bumped up to $260 million next year. That would still mean that Tua Tagovailoa alone is taking up about 16% of your cap space, with no room to restructure the deal or anything. It's a tough pill to swallow, especially if this season ends up similarly to last season, where they start out hot, things are going great, but then once the weather gets cold, the team slows down, they have a tough playoff loss. So what can Miami feasibly do here? It's the same spot a lot of teams find themselves in, not quarterback purgatory exactly, but close enough. It's like the Cowboys with Dak, the Raiders with Derek Carr all those years, the Bengals with Andy Dalton. Having a quarterback who is good enough is nice, but you know it's probably never going to win you a Super Bowl, which is the ultimate goal, or at least it should be. If you're in Miami's position, do you extend Tua knowing that it's probably going to be an overpay, but it at least raises your floor? Or do you bottom out, trade your valuable assets, and hope you luck out on a better quarterback in the draft in the future? I would not want to make that decision myself, but most teams do fear bottoming out and continue the path of staying just above average. According to Tyreek Hill, however, he thinks Tua is worth the big contract. While a YouTuber like myself may give the Dolphins little chance of going all the way this season, a 17-year NFL veteran thinks otherwise. Calais Campbell, who was drafted in 2008, literally the Bush administration years, believes that Miami gives him a great chance of securing his first Super Bowl ring, which would make him pretty much this year's Al Horford. Campbell also set very high expectations for his side of the ball, saying, "I think that this defense is going to be a top, very top. I don't want to go too crazy, but it's going to be a really good defense." I mean, he could be right. There are big names all over this defense. For a lot of them, though, their best years are probably behind them. But in the tail end of their prime, could they possibly put a run together and win it all? I'll put it this way. If the options were either they miss the playoffs or they make the Super Bowl, I would pick them to miss the playoffs. While seeding may not be the most impactful thing for playoff teams, it's pretty critical for Miami. Because if they can secure the 1 seed or be lucky enough to play all their playoff games in a dome, then this all of a sudden becomes so much easier. But think about the best teams in the AFC. Baltimore, outdoor stadium. Buffalo, very cold, outdoor stadium. Cincinnati, outdoor stadium. And Kansas City, we saw what happened last year. Perhaps the playoff schedule lines up favorably with a home game in the wild card round, and maybe they draw the Texans indoors in the divisional round or something, but this is what I mean. The conditions and circumstances have to line up so perfectly for this team to realistically make a run. So for that reason, I'm out on them. Hopefully for Dolphins fans' sake, I'm wrong, and personally I have nothing against them, but I'm just being honest. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Of course, leave a like and subscribe if you did, and I'll talk to you guys next time.